episode of Mindful Living. I'm your host, Sana, as always, and today we are diving into some of the most powerful wellness habits that can help us live healthier, more balanced lives. From yoga and cold plunging to healthy eating and exercise, we'll explore how these practices impact not just our bodies, but our minds and daily lives. And joining me today is an incredible guest, Mercedes Weber Lawson. So, let me share a bit about her with all of you listeners. Mercedes is a dedicated single mom of two, balancing family life with her thriving career as a real estate agent in Georgina, Ontario. Now, with 18 years of experience in sales and a passion for supporting her community, she's an inspiration for anyone trying to juggle a busy lifestyle while maintaining wellness as well. Also, fun fact, she grew up at the legendary Weber's Burgers, which is a Canadian staple. So, with that, Mercedes, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute honor having you with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Okay, Mercedes, such a strong background in business and entrepreneurship. I'm in real estate, sales, one of the highest stress jobs in the world. So, before we dive into that, how do you prioritize your health and wellness holistically with such a demanding career?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt sales is definitely a demanding career. It's you're always on the go, and in this day and age with social media and the way things are, we're glued to our phones and Instagram and Facebook and everything else, and we have our clients that need us 24/7. So it is very important to keep a healthy mind and keep your body healthy. So I guess I do it in an array of different things. Yoga would be one thing that I've done and practiced for a long time, probably about 20 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just find it's really just helps keep me balanced. I love hot yoga. Just there's something about walking into a room full of people, the energy you get from it, and just being able to be with yourself for an hour and to take deep breaths and really just really get in tune with yourself and have that moment where you're also depugged, right? And you don't have your phone with you. That's a really important thing that I try to do weekly.
So that's kind of a non-negotiable. 1 hour every day you have to dedicate to yourself.
Exactly.
Great, great. And that definitely requires a lot of discipline because sometimes we do want to consistently follow up the non-negotiable, but sometimes in a high stress career, things can really be unpredictable. So in such situations, how do you manage? How do you compensate?
I guess I try to schedule it in. So almost like a business where you set up a business meeting, you set up a coffee meeting, same thing. You book it in your calendar and you say, "Okay, what class am I going to do this week?" And you always have to be flexible. So if something comes up and I can't make my 9 a.m. Monday class because I have a meeting with a client I have to attend or a showing or a sign back on an offer, then I'll just take that scheduled 9 a.m. and say, "Okay, why don't I move that to 11?" So keeping it in my calendar, and you know how we always kind of book a meeting with a meeting? Kind of the same thing goes with your health, right? So you book it in, and if something comes up where you can't do it, then push it into either later in your day or maybe you have to move it to tomorrow, but still try to make sure that you make that commitment to yourself and you get that exercise or whatever that is that you scheduled to get your downtime in your calendar still there.
Mhm. Makes sense. Makes sense. And now talking about yoga, as you mentioned about it, I know that a lot of people, excuse me, swear by it for both physical and mental benefits. So, what's your experience with yoga?
Honestly, it has kept me so grounded. Sometimes I've stopped doing it for periods of time, but the best thing is you can always come back to it. Yoga is something that you can always have in your life at I think at any fitness level too, which is nice. So whether you're extremely athletic and young or you're middle-aged or you're even older, you can always
Mhm.
there's modifications. So For that, I love it. I think yoga will be something I'll have in my life, I'll always have in my life. And
Mhm.
there's days where it's challenging, where you're in your head, right? So you don't have that loud pumping music that you get from a body fit class or CrossFit,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? The gym's pumping, it's quiet, there always is, sometimes there's instrumental music, or sometimes there's lyrical music, sometimes it's just very calming. And
Mhm.
you can get in your head where you start thinking, but the instructor's leading you the whole time, and she always reminds you to come back to your breath. And sometimes you sit there and you go, "Oh my goodness, I'm not thinking about my breath. I'm thinking about, what do I have to do today? What time do I have to pick up my kids? What time am I meeting my client? Did I
Mhm.
did I send that to that lawyer?" So there's lots of things, but you just come back to it. So anytime you lose your train of thought, you
Mhm.
just set your mind back in. And I think it's been a very positive for me. I think I've gained a lot from it, and I really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree because yoga is such a great channel. It's such a great practice for mindfulness. Um,
Mhm.
and I feel like in fast-paced careers like yours, it's even more important to find that reset button. So, have you ever struggled with staying consistent when it comes to yoga?
Yeah, sometimes I have. Sometimes you fall out of it, just like anything, right? Where whether it's your eating habit or your daily routine, sometimes you can fall out of it, and you just have to, I guess, find it within to get back into it, because you know the benefits that you're going to get mentally. You know the benefits your body's going to physically get. And there's times where I won't do it for 3 months,
Mhm.
and then I've done it where I've done it for daily for 30 days straight on a yoga challenge, and that's actually a great way to get back into it. If you do ever find yourself you've lost track of it, you make a commitment where you say, "Okay, I'm gonna do a 30-day challenge," and do it once a day for 30 days, or maybe it's just a week challenge. But that's a really great reset to get back
Mm.
into the groove.
Mm. Yeah, of course. That's so true. And now coming to cold plunge. So this one's is trending everywhere. I had some recent conversations with few of my guests talking about cold plunge. I mean, how um, brilliant it is, especially if there's a lot of time constraints or you have a busy schedule. So um, it's really crazy. So have
Mhm.
how have you tried it? I mean, how it all began for you?
Honestly, remember, I was just trying to think back to when I first started cold plunging, and
Mm-hmm.
you know what? I actually think the first time I was at a retreat where I did a day retreat where it was full of a group of women where we did yoga, we did cold plunging, we did breath work, and I think that
Oh.
was the first time I probably experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
It was led by a coach, so I definitely recommend that. If you've never tried cold plunging, it can be overwhelming, and even to this day, every time I think am I really gonna get in that cold water? Your mind tells you no, right? It's like if you're being chased by a bear, are you gonna run towards the bear, or are you gonna run the other way? And
Absolutely.
right? And we're gonna run the other way. So you really have to like face it head on. And I think that's the neat thing about cold plunging, and where you feel so strong that you went at it head on. You didn't run away. You know it's going to be cold. You know your feet are going to tingle, your hands are going to tingle, your complete body goes numb. But after 30 seconds, you start to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a good reminder that we can adjust to anything.
Mm-hmm.
When our body can adjust to that cold temperature, and all of a sudden, you're relatively comfortable in freezing cold water, you think, "Wow, I can do anything."
That's right. So is it some kind of a trendy discomfort or it's a science backed miracle?
It's actually science backed. So there's a lot of science behind cold plunging. There's a ton of different health benefits from, increasing your endorphins is a huge one. Um, your metabolism, it speeds up your metabolism, it helps with sleep. Now, I'm no, expert when it comes to all the benefits of it. I know how I feel after, and just that's enough for me to keep doing it. I have looked into it a bit though, and I know the magic really happens at 2 minutes. So ideally, there's a certain amount of minutes you should cold plunge weekly. And then you should cold plunge at least 2 minutes when you do it, because 2 minutes is when your body, um, I guess it hits like a certain state,
Mhm.
um, and it releases a protein from your body that's only released basically in that like fight or flight mode, and it gets released around 2 minutes. So if you can do it, it is hard, but I do promise you, after the first 30 seconds is the hardest. After that, it's smooth sailing. I probably the longest I've cold plunged is I think I've stayed in just over 4 minutes.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sounds really, really exciting adventure.
Yeah, it is, and it's definitely trending, like, there is a trend component to it, but I think it is combined with the science background that it has and all the health benefits, people are really catching on to this, and also the hot cold therapy, which is combining, like, sauna with the cold plunge. So you do sauna, cold plunge, and if you really want to, start your day and feel invigorated and have that boost of energy, they always say to finish in the cold plunge. And if it's in the evening and you're really wanting to just wind down and relax, then finish in the sauna and you'll be in more of that sleepy state, and it will really get you ready for a good night rest.
Hmm. Yeah. And now let's talk about healthy eating. I mean, you grew up with a background in the food business. I mean, it's in your culture. So
Mhm.
how has that shaped your approach to nutrition and healthy eating?
Well, it's funny. I guess I didn't really grow up healthy eating. My family owned an iconic restaurant, Weber's Hamburgers, and I grew up eating hamburgers and fries, if not daily, But at the end of the day, it was always funny because when we do talk about it, um, it was good quality food. And I think that that's, everything in moderation. But when, the food that we did serve at the restaurant was always good quality. Yes, are they fries deep fried? Yes, they are. But the burgers are real beef. Um, the bread, anything that we use were good ingredients, which I think makes a difference. And, and then obviously as I got older and I don't eat hamburgers and fries every day, but I don't exclude those from my diet. I'll definitely treat myself every once in a while. But I really love clean eating. Having a protein rich diet gives me the fuel that I need. And when I eat healthy salads with proteins, chicken, steak, shrimp, I'll often have eggs for breakfast. Those things I just find they give me enough fuel to get through the day, managing 2 kids, being a single mom, managing a real estate business. I need to make sure that I eat and I eat the right foods. Otherwise, I often will feel drained. I'll eat lunch and I'll be ready for a nap by 1 o'clock. And the difference that you can feel, you just test it yourself, right? And you go and have McDonald's and you're ready for a nap. But if you go and eat something nutritious, you've got enough energy to get through the day. So it definitely matters what you eat.
Absolutely true. And two things which I believe what I understand is number one, especially for women out there, rich diets, micronutrients rich diets, leafy vegetables, they're very, very much important, irrespective of your age. And
Mhm.
secondly, a homemade burger. I mean, even if a burger has been demonized, but a homemade burger, always it kinds of get me going. I love to have something which is homemade, even though it's
Yeah.
a something like a pizza. But
Anything homemade. That's what I've been trying to tell my kids. We've been making homemade granola bars, yeah, homemade hamburgers. And I said, if we make it at home, we know the ingredients. So yes, we know we might have put some chocolate chips in them, but we use maple syrup instead of refined sugar. We used almond flour instead of plain white flour. And we can really pick what type of nutrients we want to put in there, and we know what we're eating. Because when we do buy these things at the store, unfortunately, we're living in a day and age, everything is so processed, especially, here where we are, it's very much a culture where everything is fast food. Everybody's living a very fast-paced life. And the food that we're just grabbing are not good foods. They're not good for our bodies. And I think over time they could do a lot of damage. So we all have to be a little bit more aware of what we're eating. And just because they're selling it doesn't mean it's good for us.
absolutely, that's such a strong takeaway. Mercedes, such a strong, and I swear by homemade food because that is fresh, it's nutritious, and we are making it, so we are mindful about what we are putting in our body. It's not like we're just buying something outside and grabbing and then getting back to our work or rest of the day. So that's a really really important takeaway. And um also, uh if our listeners, if they want to start having a healthy mind, a healthy body, and especially for women out there or moms out there, what's the first step? I mean, even before um, adopting the practices, what's the first step they should get into to start with?
Well, I would say do something that you love. The hardest thing for me is, when you maybe hear, okay, cold plunging is a trend, but you just absolutely dread it. Nobody wants to do something they dread doing.
Mm.
I love walking, but I hate running. And if someone says to me, like, "Do you wanna go for a run?" No, that's the last thing I wanna do. But you know what? It's a beautiful day today. Spring is starting to come where we are here in Ontario, and to go outside for a walk, go by the lake, great, I love that. So I think do something that you love or even that you like, but don't start with something that you're just totally put off by and there's no way you wanna lift weights. Well, don't go to the gym and lift weights. Or if you don't like doing the lead class, don't do it. For me, I love going to a class because it's an hour where I know I can't leave that room. So I can modify the exercise, but I know that I'm gonna stick to whatever it is, whether it's a step class, and I'm gonna get a really good workout because I'm there for an hour. If I'm just on my own, I might cut it to 45 minutes or the phone might ring and I'm like, I have to take that. So do something that, yeah, you have interest in and just start there. There's so many amazing things we can do for our body, whether it's movement, um, meditating, just going in the sauna. You don't need that cold therapy with it. You can just go in the sauna if you love sitting in a warm a warm place and, bringing a book or just closing your eyes and start with something like that.
That's such a mindful advice, Mercedes. Such a mindful advice. I love it because uh, gym, yoga, meditation, cold plunge, running, walking, it is not one size fits all. And that's such a great advice. Do what you love. So with that, if our listeners would like to get in touch with you, Mercedes, how they can do that.
So you can find me on Instagram. That probably is the best way. So Mercedes Weber Real Estate. I'm also on Facebook and I'm also on LinkedIn as well. But you can send me a message there and I'd be happy to chat more. Anything about health, real estate, mindfulness.
Lovely. We'll have all the details mentioned in the show notes. And thank you so much, Mercedes. This has been such a fantastic, simple yet such a resonating conversation. And thank you so much for sharing your insights and your experiences.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for having me on here today.
And listeners, that wraps up another episode of Mindful Living. I hope you all took away some inspiration from Mercedes to incorporate wellness into your busy lives. And if you loved this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Also, refer to the show notes to connect with Mercedes. And until next time, stay mindful and take care of yourself and your loved ones. Thank you.